Welcome everyone to our week 2 session of Photoshop, and I am so excited by what I'm seeing from this class. You guys are just a fantastic group. You are, following the directions, you are turning your assignments in on time, and your assignments are showing that, you all are wanting to go above and beyond and do some really fantastic experimentation with your Photoshop. You guys are doing a great job of turning the correct files in on time. You're doing really good in the discussion, really good assessment grades. So that shows me that you are watching the full class session and then getting the benefit of the answers that are provided to the assessment at the end of these class sessions. So good job there. And I think you guys are going to enjoy week 2. Now, week 2 is a little bit more challenging than week 1. There's a number of tools that we go over, and there's a few more steps than just, making a wallpaper. You're going to be retouching images, which you'll find is really fun. And these retouching tools that you're learning are going to be tools that you will actually use in your first jobs as graphic designers. Retouching is the easiest type of job to get as a graphic designer, and many of you will have your first career be as a production artist or a graphic design assistant. So that means you'll be given a whole bunch of images, and then you'll be asked to retouch them and restore them. And this is a good side job income too, because you can list your services on websites like Fiverr and offer to do either photo retouching or beauty retouching or photo restoration for people out there in the world who want to hire a graphic designer to do that sort of work. So the skills that you are learning this week are skills that you will definitely apply to your career. So let's get started. And again, I'm just really impressed with the work that I'm seeing. I'm so glad that you guys are all following directions and turning your work in on time, and your grades are showing it. We have, a total of, I want to say a little over 20 students. Oh my gosh, my dogs are very bad. A little over 20 students in the class. And I have to say, I think about 18 of you have come out of this first week with an A. So really good work there. Alrighty, so this week we are talking about beauty retouching and photo restoration. So let's get started. A few, just some things to kind of think about as you go through the class, and also think about your career is, even though you might be getting A's in your classes and you might be, doing work and developing skills, one of the most heartbreaking things that can happen after you graduate is to hear from an employer or a potential employer that they're looking for someone with more design-related work experience. So real quick, for just a few minutes, what are some ways that you guys can get design-related work experience while being in school at the same time? Any ideas? How can we get design-related work experience while being in school at the same time? Yeah, do side work on websites just such as Fiverr, definitely. What are some other ways to get design-related work experience while in school at the same time? Yeah, so getting an internship. Now, what are some ways that you can find out about internships and apply for internships? What might be one way for you to find out about an internship opportunity? How about going to our Career Services Center here at school? So Independence University has a Career Services Center in Shark. All you have to do is head over to Shark, click on the career services link, and definitely call or email one of our career services representatives and let them know that you are interested in doing an internship while in school, or you're interested in some side job income while you're in school. And they will work with you on applying for those types of jobs and getting your resume in shape and getting your portfolio in shape. Now, you guys have a really good advantage of this month. We are having our month of money in both Design Club and Coffee with Creatives. So Design Club meets on on Wednesdays of weeks 1 and 3, and Coffee with Creatives meets on Wednesdays in week 2 and 4. So if you head over to the IUGA community, and this Wednesday with Coffee with Creatives, Sarah Moss is going to be talking about how you can get income while you are in school at the same time. And last week during Design Club, I talked about also different ways that you can make money while being in school at the same time by doing stock images, by freelancing, by building your presence on Facebook and Twitter. And so if you want to check out the recording from last week, it's in our IUGA community. Just click on the Coffee with Creatives link and then scroll down, and you'll see our video from this week or last week rather, where I talked about making money while you're in school at the same time. Now, you can all have your own freelance graphic design business now, and you can start that business today. All it really takes is putting up, either a Facebook page or a Twitter page or a DeviantArt page or any sort of social media page with your graphic design company. So you can have Cameron K Graphic Design on Facebook, and this page will only have your graphic design related stuff on it. So you're not going to post political posts. You're not going to post jokes or memes that are not related to graphic design. You're not going to post silly pictures of yourself or selfies holding a red cup at a party or anything like that. You are going to be just presenting yourself as a professional graphic designer. And, it takes 5 minutes. Make a Facebook page for your graphic design business. And then all of the freelance work and all the side gigs that you do will fall under, Cameron K Graphic Designs. And then you'll put on your resume that you have been a graphic designer for your graphic design business starting today or starting whenever you decide to start it. And then by the time you graduate in 2 years, you'll have 2 years work experience working for your graphic design business. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to work 40 hours a week for your graphic design business because, when you're in school, that's probably not a possibility. But, during a month where you have a light course load, or during a week where, like week 1, the assignment was really easy and took you about 5 minutes, you can get a few gigs and do some graphic design work that might take you a day or two to do, and you can get paid for it. And even if it doesn't pay a whole lot, the thing is, that's experience that can fall under your graphic design business. And if you decide to do my stock image challenge and start selling some stock images, that can also fall under your graphic design business. So anything that can kind of prove that you've been a graphic designer for the 2 years while you've been in school is going to help leverage you and going to help show a potential client or employer that you are an actual working person. And it'll especially give you the advantage of being able to have references and letters of recommendation and people that employer can call when they decide to, maybe pursue you for an interview or pursue you for, a position. So being able to have those references, have that actual work experience in your portfolio, have that work experience in your resume is going to make you a much stronger candidate than someone who's fresh out of school that doesn't have any design-related work experience. Okay, so let's move ahead. Okay, late work. So I don't think this applies to anyone here because you guys have all been really good about turning your work in on time. But if you contact me before the deadline and let me know that, for whatever reason, you had a busy week that week, which I understand that happens from time to time, and you need a little extra time to turn your work in, I'm usually going to be more than happy to accommodate you. Now, if your work is going to be turned in late and you and I agree on a date, maybe on Wednesday or Tuesday or whatever, understand that I do all of my grading on Monday and Tuesday. And I did all my grading actually yesterday. I wasn't able to do any grading today because I was really, really busy. So I'm probably not going to be grading late work until Sunday or Monday of this week. So if you're one of the few students who, requested extra time on your assignment, understand it's not going to be graded until next week. So just be aware of that. And also just an important reminder, I'm usually happy to accommodate late work if you contact me before midnight Saturday. If I have to email you or reach out to you on Monday or Tuesday, because you haven't been in class, you haven't turned in your work, and then you say, oh yeah, things came up, I didn't get to it, I'm going to be less accommodating with accepting your late work. So be on top of things. Let me know ahead of time if your work's going to be late. Don't make it a habit. So don't make it like, okay, every week is going to be late work. But, 1 week, I understand things happen. That's okay. We'll get your work in. My goal is for each and every one of you to get an A in the class. I tend to, especially for an easy class like this, I tend to be a little bit bummed when I see students finishing the class with a B or a C, because one, the classes are going to just get harder from here. So if you're getting a B or a C in Photoshop, which is like the easy class, you're going to have a little bit of a harder time in the harder classes that are coming up. Also, many of you guys went to school, decided to go to school because you have a passion for graphic design. I'm guessing that all of you decided to come to college because you had a passion for graphic design and you want to pursue a career as a graphic designer. So if you're getting a B or a C in your graphic design classes, which should be the classes that you're passionate about, that one makes me think, what, am I not doing my job right? Because, you guys should be acing these classes. And two, it makes me think that maybe this field might not be the field that, is ideal for you to be pursuing as a career. And if that's the case, that's okay. Graphic design isn't for everyone. So feel free, again, if you're starting to doubt that graphic design is your thing, feel free to reach out to your faculty program advisor or your associate dean and talk about options for switching into another program, such as business, which is half the work as graphic design, or, a medical field or an IT field. Just those options are out there. Since for many of you, this is your first course in the program, this should give you kind of a good taste of what to expect in future classes. And again, maybe you might be finding that this isn't for you, and that's totally okay. Don't worry about it. But let's talk about for succeeding in the class. I want to encourage you guys all to be resourceful and take advantage of the many resources that we have available for you. So not only do you have these class sessions where I walk you step by step through how to do the assignment, and I show you what the answers are for the assessment, and I explain how to do the discussion, but we also have additional video resources that are posted in the classroom that walk you through and explain how to use the tools in Photoshop. We also have multi-sessions, which are class sessions where you can come in on a Wednesday at this very time and come in and get one-on-one help from me, your instructor. So you can bring in your work on Wednesdays, show me what you're having trouble with, show me what you have questions about, and get help from me. We We also have tutoring, which is available. Our tutor is Nadine Keeney, and her contact information is posted in the announcement section of the classroom. We also have our tutoring center, which is our Student Success Center, which is in Shark. And again, that's on the front page of the classroom. So we have a variety of places that you can go to get assistance and get help and get the information that you need. You don't want to be like Needy Ned, who was featured in our cartoons last week. Needy Ned expects the teacher to hold his hand and walk him step by step through how to do the assignment, even though this information has already been provided. And Needy Ned sometimes makes the mistake of calling his teachers on Friday or Saturday and expecting the teacher to, over the phone, Friday, Saturday night at the last minute, walk him through and answer his questions. And yes, as instructors, we are more than happy to bend over backwards and provide whatever information that you need in order to succeed in the class. But expecting us to talk on the phone on Friday or Saturday is probably not a good strategy for your success, and it's not really fair to the instructors who, you know, have posted multi-session times and who are here available in class to answer your questions. So don't be like Needy Ned. Take advantage of the resources and you know, understand that we're here to help you, but we do have to set some boundaries, okay? Now, let's talk about your assignment 2, which is your retouching photos project. And this is a really fun project that is directly related to the types of careers that you guys are going into. So check out what you guys have to do. So you're given 3 images that you get to choose from, but guess what? You only have to retouch 2 of the images. So that's pretty cool. And so you get to pick whichever 2 is going to be easiest for you. And for each image you retouch, you are going to get 50 points, okay? 50 points for each image that you retouch. You want to make sure that you retouch it fully and, you know, follow all the steps and follow like I do. So I'm going to show you the best, most industry standard way of retouching these photos. So you'll want to use the tools that I use, and you'll want to use them in the order that I use them. You know, for the beauty retouching, that means, you know, using the spot healing first, using, you know, the clone stamp for under the eyes, using, you know, soft light to lighten up the shadows, and follow it in the order that I do. I had a student in the past who watched my tutorial, but then decided to do her own completely different technique of retouching, which involved like clone stamping everything. And the problem is it ended up looking unnatural, it ended up looking overworked, and it wasn't the way that you would be retouching something if you were working professionally. So, you know, I asked her to redo it, and, you know, she was a little grumpy because, you know, she put a lot of work into it. But the thing is, she didn't follow the technique that is the industry standard way of doing it. And so it resulted in it looking messy. And even if she, you know, she believed that this was her artistic technique and she was using her own method and she was, you know, expressing herself as an artist. And the thing is, as designers, what you want to do is you want to follow what your client wants you to do. And in this case, your client is me, the instructor. And the reason I'm teaching you the tools that you are being taught is because these are, or the technique that I'm teaching is because these techniques are like the best, easiest, most efficient way to do it. And it's also going to make your potential clients in the future happy. So, you know, if you are unsuccessful in this week's assignment, I will be encouraging you to revise and resubmit. And I'm not doing that because I'm mean or I want you to fail or anything like that. I'm asking you to revise and resubmit because I want you to have portfolio pieces that you can show to potential employers that will help get you a job. And if your work is not at the level that will help get you a job, I will be a bad teacher if I, just give you an A on it and let you pass through the class. So again, I want to bend over backwards and do whatever I can to help you not only get an A in this class, but also, have work that is going to enable you to get hired as a graphic designer. That's my responsibility as a teacher, I feel. So let's look at these images. Now, the first one is this Harley picture, and it's a standard beauty retouching type of picture. Now, this is what you will get when you open the unretouched version of the picture. And this is what it looks like zoomed out to 100% when I Command + and zoom in. This is what it looks like. And as we can see, we have some pimples, we have some makeup smudges, we have some stray hairs floating around, and there's a little bit of work that needs to be done on this to get it into professional shape. Now, this is a finished version of the retouching project from a few mods ago. So I'm going to use this to kind of show you what steps we're going to be following, and then I'll show you on the unretouched version how to go through all those steps. So the first step is, it looks like this, right? We got the pimples, we got the makeup smudges, and we just need to do a little bit of work. So step one is to use spot healing to get rid of some of the pimples, or get rid of all the pimples rather. Step two is, you might use spot healing, you might use a little clone stamp to get rid of the stray hairs. Okay, so Cameron, definitely follow along with what I'm going to be teaching you. Step three, I just lightened the eyes a little bit, right? It helps to make the eyes more of the focal point. And just for fun, I added a little eye color because that's something that a lot of students want to learn how to do. And I'll be teaching you guys how to do that. And then I add a little makeup using curves like that. And then I did a little bit of liquify to smoothen out the hair. And then a little bit more removing of the hair. So some important shortcut keys that you guys are going to want to learn first is Command +, because when you are retouching, you want to zoom in as close as possible. And as you can see, zooming in allows us to see the details and the pimples and all the things that we want to remove. And then another shortcut key that I want to teach you guys, so that's Command + to zoom in, Command - to zoom out. And if you are on a PC type computer, you are going to use Control + and Control - to zoom in and out. Then you'll want to do a little navigating around the picture, and you can do that by holding down the space bar and clicking. So I'm holding down the space bar and clicking and dragging, and this brings up the hand tool. So space bar while clicking and dragging allows us to navigate around the picture so we can see things up close and navigate around. Now, another thing that you'll want to do is every time you make a change to your image, you want to put that change on a new layer so that you don't ever delete pixels or change pixels. So to do this, we hit Shift Command N, Shift Command N, and this is non-destructive editing technique. And if you want, you can rename your layers. So I'm going to use this layer for spot healing, so I could name it spot healing if I want. So Shift Command N to make a new layer, Shift Control N if you are on a PC, okay? Next, I'm going to go to my spot healing tool, which is over here in my tool panel, and it looks like a little Band-Aid with a dotted kind of circle behind it, like this. Do not confuse the spot healing tool with the healing brush tool, which looks like just a regular Band-Aid. what we want to do is use the spot healing tool like this. Okay, let me just stop people's videos. Good. So Cameron just asked, do you use your Cintiq for things like this? For the purposes of this class, and because this is a fairly easy assignment, I'm just using the same exact computer that you guys all have and the trackpad. So I'm not even using a mouse. If I were working professionally and I had, you know, a nice big full resolution picture and I wanted everything to be as good as possible, I would definitely use a Cintiq, mostly just because ergonomically, a Cintiq makes it funner to do. It's a little, I don't know what it's just not as fun to do this type of stuff on a trackpad. It's a little bit more fun to do it on a Cintiq, and it's a little easier on my back and a little bit, you know, easier on my arm and all of that. But by all means, you can, I'm going to be doing this demonstration on a trackpad just like you guys have. So if you follow along with these steps, you'll all do totally fine. So I'm using my Band-Aid tool, my little spot healing tool, and the shortcut key that we want to use to increase and decrease the size of our brush is the brackets, and the square brackets are located right next to the letter P on your keyboard. So I'm hitting the left bracket to shrink my brush size down, and I want to make my brush size the exact same size as the pimple that I'm going to be removing. Now, frequently asked question I get from students is they will be, you know, stroking over and over again on the pimple that they want to remove, and nothing happens. So what you want to do is make sure Sample All Layers is checked up at the top of the screen. So after clicking the little Band-Aid tool with the little dotted circle behind it, making a new layer, you want to make sure that Sample All Layers is checked up at the top of the screen because we are making our changes on a blank layer. And if you don't have that checked, nothing will happen, okay? So as you can see, I am removing these pimples using something called Content Aware. Now, if you can kind of notice, Content Aware has a slightly soft quality to it, and it ends up looking a little bit different from the other option, which is Proximity Match. So what I want to encourage you guys to do is click back and forth between the two options, Content Aware and Proximity Match, and see which option works best for this particular picture. You might find that Proximity Match allows you to kind of retain the texture of the skin a little bit better, but sometimes, especially in small areas where you have, you know, eyelashes and you want to remove like little small lines and wrinkles and stuff like that, you might find that Content Aware ends up working a little bit better. So you want to use the right tool for the right thing. And if you find that Content Aware works better, use that. If you find that Proximity Match works better, use that, right? And so you might find that like on the shine in her forehead, right here, Content Aware works a little bit better. So a good rule of thumb is to make your brush the same size as the thing that you want to get rid of. So I have a little tiny little speck of mascara right here that I want to get rid of, right? So I'm making my brush size nice and small to get rid of that. You know, I have a little pimple here I want to get rid of, so we're making our brush size nice and small to get rid of that. Okay, and the other, it's an absolute must to make all of your changes on separate layers like this, because if I make a mistake, let's say and we're touching and all of a sudden I end up making something look totally unnatural and smudged and bad. So I'll do something like that. And didn't look too bad, actually. Just going along, smudging and retouching. And let's say I end up just making something that looks just way too blurry. I can easily hit E for erase and then erase that retouching and start again. And this is something that you guys want to do. When you are retouching and you notice that some of the retouching you did ends up looking blurred or blotchy or unnatural, erase it and try again, okay? So we have some little makeup smudges over here that we can kind of get rid of. There's a number of pimples on her back, so be sure to pay attention to that and navigate around the picture and get rid of that. Use a little proximity match. And I'm not going to get rid of every single little pimple in this class session because I don't want to bore you guys to death, but you guys see the general kind of process here. You see that, you know, it's going to take a little bit of time. I'd recommend taking about 20 minutes to just sit here and get rid of all the little spots and imperfections. And then you can also see if you can use the spot healing tool to get rid of these stray hairs. Now, it's really important that you shrink your brush size down and make your brush size the same or really close to the diameter of the thing that you guys are going to get rid of. And then do a little piece at a time. Don't try and do the whole thing in one swoop. So watch, a little at a time. Boom, see? Little at a time. There we go. So see how we're getting rid of the stray hairs like that? Just a little at a time with our spot healing tool. Okay, and then really important, before you move on to another tool or another layer, do a little bit of a before and after. And you can do that by clicking on the eyeball tool that's next to the layer that you used for retouching. See, I got a little like weird smudge there that I want to get rid of, and it's not going away. So I'm going to try a little content aware. Maybe that smudge is on my computer screen. Okay, that happens too. Sometimes you're like, what's that little thing that won't go away? Oh, it's just a smudge that's on my computer screen. I just need to clean my screen off. Almost there. Okay, so see how just a little at a time and we're getting rid of these stray hairs. That's all we're doing. Okay, let's zoom out a little bit. Oh, Cameron asked, what is the create texture option? You know, honestly, I've never felt the need to use that, but I think what it does is it takes the grayscale like texture of the thing that you're copying and then recreates it so it's like for texture mapping and I think more for like graphic type work rather than retouching. But I have actually never felt the need to use it, but I will definitely look that up and find out what the uses are for that sort of thing. Okay, the next thing is, I'm going to show you how to do the before and after. So if you click on the little eyeball next to spot healing, you can see what it looked like before you did the spot healing and what it looked like after. So your goal, obviously, is I want to make my retouching look better than it looked before. And if you're finding that instead of your image looking better, it looks more blotchy, or if it looks like blurry, it looks like artificial and very like retouched looking, Then delete that layer and try again, and try maybe using a smaller brush, or try not doing quite as much. So anyway, just check your before and after before you move on. Now I'm going to make a new layer. Again, you can click on the little square with a little triangle inside of it at the bottom of the layer panel, or you can hit Shift Command N to make a new layer. And I'm going to call this one Clone Stamp. Now here's the thing. The Clone Stamp tool is a little bit challenging and takes some finessing. You definitely want to and need to learn it, because it will be a crucial part of your graphic design career. But if you are finding that as much as you're trying to work on your Clone Stamp tool and your picture is looking like a mess, I would rather you not have any clone stamping and have your picture look retouched and natural and nice, rather than attempting to use Clone Stamp and ending up making the picture look like a total mess, okay? Because the goal is a beautiful picture, and how you get there, I definitely want you to follow these steps. Do spot healing first, do Clone Stamp second, do soft light third, do your blending modes on top of your retouching, but don't, if Clone Stamp isn't working for you, don't keep, don't turn in something that looks like a mess. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so I'm going to go to my Clone Stamp, and up at the top of the screen, again, this is very, very important. You need to have Align Sample All Layers checked, and you need to be doing this on a new layer. Okay, Align Sample All Layers. Next, I'm going to just show you how Clone Stamp works. First, I'm just going to, for now, make my opacity 100% so that you can see what this does. Again, you can increase your brush size by clicking on the brackets next to the letter P on your keyboard. And then I'm going to hold down the Alt or Option key, hold down the Alt or Option key, and then position my cursor over the part of the picture that I want to copy. Then I will click on my trackpad once, and then I will let go of the Alt or Option key. And as I let go of the Alt or Option key, my cursor has returned to a normal circular shape. Now, as you can see, as I move my cursor, I have copied a section of the image. And now when I click with my trackpad and start painting, just like I would if I had a paintbrush, I am I'm copying and pasting that part of the image onto the same image, right? So again, if I want to go back and take a copy of a certain part of the image, I will hover my cursor over that part of the image that I want to copy. I will hold down the Alt or Option button and then click with my trackpad. And then I will let go of the Alt or Option button. Next, I will drag my cursor to wherever I want to paint the thing that I copied, and then I will start painting. So this is how Clone Stamp works, and you can make something that looks surreal and creepy with it, or you can do some actual beauty retouching with it. So I'm going to do some actual beauty retouching with the Clone Stamp tool. And the first step is I'll hit Shift Command N to make a new layer, and then I'll just name this Clone Stamp so you guys can see it. I'm going to go up to the top of the screen and reduce my opacity to 20%. And this is really important. I'm reducing my blending mode. I'm changing my blending mode from normal to lighten. Okay, so I'm on Clone Stamp. My blending mode is changed to lighten. My opacity is at 20%. It says Align Sample All Layers, and I'm on a new Clone Stamp layer. Okay. Now I'm going to move my cursor over a section of skin that is nice and smooth and clean and doesn't have pimples on it, doesn't have shadows on it, doesn't have any weird lines or anything like this. This nice, clean, smooth section of her skin right here that is untainted. Then I'm going to hold down the Alt or Option key. I'm holding down the Alt or Option key on my keyboard, and I'm going to click to take a sample of that skin. Then I'm going to paint that skin over the shadows that are under her eyes. See? And let's see the before and after. Before, after. See how I've kind of gently lightened the shadows under her eyes? I'm on 20% opacity, so I can take another sample. And if I want to have more effect, I can paint again. And I can keep on painting multiple layers there if I wanted to. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever seen, like, when you're standing in line at the grocery store and you see those tabloid magazines, and, like, Dr. Oz is always on the cover. And I don't know, whoever is retouching Dr. Oz, like, someone was told to, like, completely remove every inch of shadow under his eyes, and it looks so unnatural. Like, that's all I look at is, like, the fact that, like, there's like no indentation underneath his lower eye socket. And the thing is, you want, like, a little bit of a natural kind of shadow under the eye, just so it looks like a human being and not like a wax figure. So you don't want to completely get rid of this, but just lightening it a little bit, like, makes it look, you know, just a little bit more woken up, I guess you could say. So let's see the before and after. Before and after. A little less tired, I guess. And if you find that, you know, you might have gotten too much bags removed and it looks a little bit unnatural, you can just reduce the opacity of that layer and, you know, just have a little bit of it, okay? So clone stamp, I'm going to make another layer and do another clone stamp. Clone stamp is also useful for, like, eyebrow shaping, but you want to make sure that you go back to your normal blending mode and your 100% opacity when you're going to do different types of clone stamping. So, you know, I use the lighten on the 20% opacity under her eyes just to kind of do a you know, very natural, subtle removal of the bags under her eyes. But for, like, shaping her eyebrows and stuff, I'm going to increase the opacity up to 100, and I'm going to change the blending mode to normal. And then I'm just going to kind of take a sample of the skin here. See how her eyebrow, this bugs me. Her eyebrow is, like, going smooth, nice, and then it has this little jaunt up at the end. Yeah, I want to fix that. So I'm going to go to alter option, and I'm going to click and take a little sample of her skin here, and then I'm going to paint. And see, it ever so slightly jaunts up, and I'm going to take another alter option, and then I'm going to paint. See, now her eyebrow has a nice, you know, more of a smooth slope to it. Now there's also this little makeup smudge up here that is annoying me. So, you know, you can see if you can use your spot healing tool to get rid of this little makeup smudge here. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I used the wrong tool. Spot healing tool, there we go. And let's see if we can kind of get rid of this a little bit. There we go, helped a little bit. Got a little bit of a light spot here in the middle of her forehead, so. We'll see if we can try and go to proximity match instead and get rid of that. Ah, see, it copied her little freckle there. Well, there we go. Looking good. Okay, let's see the complete before and after of what we've done so far. And you can do that by holding down the Alt or Option button on your keyboard and clicking on the eyeball next to the background layer, before, after. So we've smoothed it out quite a bit. Now we get to start doing the fun stuff. This, I feel like, is, you know, the more creative stuff that you can do. And if you're just kind of removing pimples, that's a little tedious. It's kind of like anyone can do it. Now we're gonna like use a little lighting. We're gonna do some makeup, and we're gonna make her like really glow. So I'm gonna make a new layer, and I'm going to use my regular old paintbrush tool, okay? And see, right now my paintbrush is huge. It's like 1,000 pixels. I'm gonna shrink it down, again, using your shortcut keys, the little square brackets. And you want to make sure that your foreground color is white. A good way to easily reset the foreground and background color is to click on the little tiny black and white squares above your foreground and background color. And now you have pure black and pure white. If you click on either X or the little tiny arrows next to your foreground and background color, you want to make sure that white is the foreground color. And watch what I'm going to do. You're going to be like, what are you doing, Carly? Now with a big soft brush, notice how my brush has a soft fuzzy edge to it. You can select your brush settings up here. Just make sure you're at 0% hardness. I am painting white on her face. And what this white is it's going to be lighting. So I'm painting lighting on her face. Now, right now, it looks ridiculous. It does not look natural, and you definitely wouldn't want to leave it like this. But what we're going to do is use blending modes to make this look like her face is glowing rather than, spray paint. So I'm going to go now. I have my layer 2 selected. It's blue. That lets you know that it's selected. I'm going to go up to the top of my layer panel here. And right now it says normal. The blending mode says normal. And I'm going to change that blending mode from normal to soft light. Normal to soft light. Okay. Looking a little bit better, but she's still crazy white. She looks like a kind of a vampire. So what we want to do is lower the opacity of this layer, this soft light layer, so that her skin glows, but it doesn't necessarily look like she's a vampire. So I'm going to take my opacity and I'm going to lower it, lower it, lower it, lower it, lower it, lower it. And our goal is here for the shadows on her face to look brightened. And her skin to have that kind of glowy quality, but I don't want her to look like too white, okay? So see, now we've brightened up her face and we've added that glowy quality to it. Perfect. So yes, you can paint lighting into photos using soft light, which is pretty fun. Now let's take these blending modes to the next level and do some fun things. And so if you've ever wanted to know what your face would look like if you had a different eye color, that is what I'm going to do next. So I've made a new layer, and we're still on our white paintbrush here, but this time shrinking my brush down, zooming in, shrinking brush down, zooming in, and I'm going to paint white inside her irises. Then I'm going to hold down the space bar, navigate over, paint white. Do not leave it like this. This does not look unnatural. It does look unnatural. Do not leave this on your photos. But I'm going to change the blending mode now from normal to overlay. And what this has done, her eyes look copper now. Now, no one has eyes that are quite this bright. This might be good if she was a vampire and you wanted to do like a movie poster for like a vampire thing. But what we want to do is just kind of add a little bit of brightness to her eyes, but not quite this much. So again, I'm going to lower the opacity of the layer by going over to this little opacity slider here and lower the opacity. About 30% is good. And I'm going to click on the little eyeball tool before and after. So Danielle just asked me if I was a vampire fan. I am pretty picky about my vampires. I like Interview with a Vampire. I like Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise as vampires. I like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I like Angel. I like Spike. Not a fan of the Twilight. I'm sorry. But those are the vampires I like. No, I say it's vampire because that's like the only thing I can think of when their face is like really white like that, and then their eyes are glowing. It just makes me think of like the poster for Interview with a Vampire with, Brad Pitt and his eyes all glowing. So, yeah, before and after. Now, so we brightened up her eyes. They look cool. They look kind of coppery. But what if we want to like full on change her eye color? So we're going to add another layer. And this time I'm going to choose the eye color that I want. How about like a little bit of magenta purple? Like kind of violet. We'll give her violet eyes. So same thing, on a new layer, we are going to paint her irises just like this. And do not leave them like this. Because it will look not natural. And now, see where it says normal up here at the top of the layer panel? I'm going to change it from normal to color. And so what it does is it applies the color to the image so you can see the values showing through. There's light parts, there's dark parts. It doesn't look like paint, but the problem is this color is so bright. It looks very photoshopped. It doesn't look like a natural eye color. So what I'm going to do is lower the opacity. And now it looks a little bit more natural. So Cameron asks, could you use the overlay blending mode on the white layer? That's what I did. On the white layer where I did soft light to lighten up the shadows. So if I did overlay on that, it would be crazy bright. It would look like she was glowing. It would look like she was nuclear. So you don't want to do that kind of thing. But yeah, if you want things to look natural and you just want to kind of brighten up some shadows, soft light is good for that. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is make a new layer. I'm going to add a little lipstick color. And what we're going to do first is make a selection of her lips before we apply the color. So I'm going to go over here to my lasso tool, polygon lasso tool. Now, the lasso tools live together. They're all roommates on the same button. So you might see the polygon lasso tool, you might see the magnetic lasso tool, or you might see the regular lasso tool. We want to use for this, we want to use the regular lasso tool. And then see up here where it says feathering up at the top of the screen? I have it feathered on 1 pixel. It will just help to make the lips look blended rather than like a hard line that was drawn with marker. And now zoom in real close and watch. I'm going to click and drag and trace with my trackpad, and I'm staying inside the lip line. You don't want to go outside the lip line or else it'll look like a clown did her lipstick. So you want to stay inside the lip line, and I'm just going to kind of completely select her lips like this. Now, as you can see, she has a little lip ring. So we want to cut out that lip ring from her lip selection. To do that, you can go up to the top of the screen, and there is the subtract from selection option, which is a light colored square being intersected by a dark square. So click on that. And then I'm going to trace her lip ring. Like so. Pretty good? Next, I'm going to go to the little circle that's light on one side, dark on the other, at the bottom of the layers panel. And I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to click curves, which is right there. Curves. Now watch this. As I click on this curve and drag it up, her lips get lighter. As I click on this curve and drag it down, her lips get darker. So we can adjust her lip color this way, like so. You can also go to these individual channels. See where it says RGB here? And you can adjust the color this way. So I'm on the red channel now. And as I increase the amount of red, see her lips get crazy red like this. If I wanted, for whatever reason, to make her lips green, which is not really recommended, I could make her lips look like that. If I wanted to make her lips look more magenta or pink, I could go to the green channel. So here's my green channel. And if I want to make her lips look more magenta, I will decrease the amount of green. And see, now her lips are taking on that more magenta color. If I want to make her lips look more purple, I can go to my blue channel and I can increase the amount of blue. Now we're a little bit more purple, or I could decrease the amount of blue and make her lips look a little bit more orange. And how about that's a color I'll stick with. Now you guys can choose to make it whatever lip color you want. Green, I side-eye green a little bit, but you know, it's up to you. If you are finding that the lips don't look blended, if they look a little bit too penciled on, and you want to blend them a little bit more, you can double click on this black and white shape here that has appeared next to the curves adjustment layer. And you can increase the feathering this way. And see, as I increase the feathering, see how they kind of start to look more blended? It's just like taking your finger and like rubbing it on your lipstick so it blends like that. And if you are feeling like the color is just a little bit too bright and you want to tone it down, you can go to the opacity right here and you can lower the opacity like this and make more soft, natural lip color. Okay, cool. So as you may have guessed, we've used color blending modes, we've used overlay blending modes, we have used soft light. You can use these different blending modes to apply makeup to your subject. So, you know, if I were to add a little bit of blush, I could make a new layer. I can use my little eyedropper tool, which is I. If you press I on your keyboard, that brings up this eyedropper tool. And you can select like a, you know, I want to make her cheeks kind of pink like her lips. Get your paintbrush out, and I'm just going to add a little bit of blush. See, this doesn't look natural at all because I'm on the normal blending mode. But if I change it to the color blending mode, and then I lower the opacity a whole lot, so we have like a little bit of pink. You can add makeup that way. So before, after, before, after. Right, so same thing if I wanted to add just a little bit of eyeshadow. Keep it natural, guys. Keep it low key. So that's a little bit too much, so just kind of lower your opacity. Now, and remember, periodically check your before and after so that you make sure that your final product is looking better than the original. And I'm going to hold down the option button on my keyboard and then click on the little eyeball tool next to the background layer. And then we got our before and after. Before and after. Okay, now the hair, smoothing out the hair. What we need to do is, it's a multi-part process. The first thing you need to do is merge all of your layers together, but you don't want to delete them. So in order to merge your layers together, you're going to use the shortcut key. Make sure you guys write this down because, again, a lot of Photoshop, it's like a recipe. There's like a step-by-step process. So if you don't write it down, you're not going to remember it. And this is Shift Command Option E. Shift Command Option E. And you want to make sure that you are clicked on your topmost layer, Shift Command Option E. And what that does is it merges all of your layers together without deleting them. It's also Shift Control Option E. Shift Control Option E. Next, I'm going to go up to Filter at the top of the screen. And I'm going to go to Liquify. Now, what I'm going to do is use the Forward Warp tool, which looks like the finger there. And I'm going to make my brush size about the same size as her forehead. And I'm going to kind of place my brush halfway between the edge of her hair and the edge of the picture. And I'm going to gently, ever so gently, push outward. And so what I'm doing by pushing the hair outward, ever so gently, is that I'm helping to create an optical illusion that will make her hair look fuller. And I'm not pushing the hair down to smooth it, I'm pushing it out to make it look fuller. So that even if there are those stray hairs floating around like that, they look appealing and not like, oh gosh, her hair looks scraggly. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of gently kind of push. What you don't wanna do is end up pushing things too much and making things look blurry and distorted. So see, I'm kind of gently, ever so gently, naughty doggies, gently pushing the hair outward like so. Not so much to where it gets distorted though. And see these hairs that kind of stick out right by her eyeball there? I'm gonna leave them, because I found that when I demonstrate how to get rid of them, it's a really hard, because there's a gradient in the background, it's really hard to kind of like use your spot healing tool in an effective way right at that point. And I find the picture looks better if you just leave the hairs there. It makes them look natural. And it makes it look, you know, it makes it look much better than when you try and get rid of them. So I would say you just leave them there and just gently push the hair outward like so. And then I'm going to click OK. Now let's see the before and after. Before, see here how her hair looks kind of scraggly. After, her hair looks fuller and not quite so scraggly. And I'm going to hold down the Alt or Option key and click on the eyeball next to the background so we can see the complete before and after. Before and after. Cool. And we have to ask yourself, is it an improvement? Does it look overly blotchy? Does it look smudged or anything like that? And if you see any blotches or smudges, then you want to get rid of them. Cool. Alrighty. So the next thing is saving. Now for this assignment, very, very important, you're going to be saving it as a JPEG. Okay, and you're going to be submitting JPEGs. But because this is a project that you might want to put in your portfolio, and a couple weeks from now you might want to go back and revisit it and work on it, or you know, if you make a mistake on it and your instructor asks you to resubmit it, redo and resubmit it, you want to have a PSD file with all of your layers on it. So let's save that layered PSD file first. Make sure we back it up. Not going to be turning in your layered PSD file, but we want it for backup. So I'm going to go to File, Save As, use our standard naming convention, which is des104week2_ your name. Now let's save the JPEG that you are going to be turning in. So to do that, we're going to go to File, Export, Save for web. File, export, save for web. And you're going to make sure that JPEG is selected. And we're going to do JPEG high. And then hit save. Cool, makes sense. Any questions so far? Perfect. Okay. The next two pictures, you have the cat picture and the dog picture. I'm going to do the dog picture first because honestly, I find the dog picture to be easier. So I'm going to go File, Open, and where are we? All righty. Now, the first step with this picture is that it is too much of one color. It is too magenta. So we need to get rid of the excess magenta first. Oh, and by the way, how can you tell it's too magenta? Well, look at something in the picture that should be white. For instance, you can look at the white of the dog's fur, you can look at the white of the kid's outfit, and you can see that instead of it being pure white, it actually looks slightly pinkish. And that pinkish is the magenta. So first thing we're going to do is use an adjustment layer. And that is in the circle that's light on one side, dark on the other at the bottom of the layer panel. And we're going to go to the color balance adjustment layer, the color balance adjustment layer. Now the properties window will show up, and here is the adjustment layer that is connected to the properties window. And all I'm going to do is ever so gently move the magenta slider away from magenta and into green. Just a little bit, not so that we'd make the dogs look green, but just enough to get rid of that excess magenta, which is about there. Be a little bit more. And see now the dog's fur is looking white instead of magenta. And we've gotten rid of a lot of it. Let's see the before and after. Before and after. Yes, Olivia. So all of our class sessions go into the live session recording and also get posted to the announcements and emailed to you all, just like in week 1. So let's see the before and after. Before and after. Next, I'm going to make a new layer and first use spot healing to get rid of the little spots, just like we did for the pimples. Make sure sample all layers is on, and make sure that your brush is the same size as the spot that you're getting rid of. And you can see there, getting rid of spots. Experiment between content aware and proximity match. Experiment with different sizes. If it's not working for you, try smaller sizes. So always start on the outside of a spot and work your way inward. Don't try and start from the inside of a spot and work outward because you'll just end up spreading the mess. Okay. Now, sometimes, you might be using your spot healing and it doesn't work. Just for whatever reason, that spot just doesn't go away. So that's when you break out your clone stamp. And yeah, the edge around the face, what you want to do is just shrink your brush size down real small. and work from the outside of the spot and work your way in. So the specks of dust, just use your spot healing tool. Okay, and then now we get to the big white spot. And so I'm going to make a new layer for the big white spot. And I am going to Shift Command N to make a new layer. And I'm going to use the clone stamp tool to get rid of it. And what we're going to do is we're going to steal parts of the picture to fill in that spot. So I'm going to go over here to clone stamp. Make sure that your blending mode is on normal. Make sure your opacity is at 100%. Increase the size of my brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to steal some of this tree and fill in this part here. So again, hold down the Alter Option button while I hover over the tree. Paint like that. I'm going to steal a little bit of this tree to fill in this part up here. So I'm going to go hold down the Alter Option button, click. And you're going to run out of picture. So you have to keep on going back to the other side of the screen, holding down the Alter Option button, clicking, and taking more samples so that you don't run out of room. I'm going to steal some fence down here, paint it across. Steal a little bit of tree here. And so what I would recommend is, I see some of you are saying that you struggled with the picture. But the thing is that you tried to get started on the picture before you watched my demonstration. So now that you've watched my demonstration, you see the way that I'm doing it. And you just want to follow along now with my steps and do it the way I'm doing it. And you're going to find it is a lot easier. I'm going to steal a little tree down here. So what we're doing is we're stealing tree, we're filling in the spot. And let's see the complete before and after. Before and after. Makes sense? And then remember, you're going to back up your PSD file, but the file that you're going to turn in is a JPEG. So you're going to go to File, Export, Save for Web. Make sure JPEG High is selected, and then hit Save. And use a naming convention so you can find it. des104week2b_ your name. No. So Cameron mentioned contrast. Please, I recommend that you don't use any adjustment layers or tools that I am not using in this, just because this is a nice natural looking picture. If you start adding vibrance or contrast or levels, it's going to start to look unnatural and you'll lose some points. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to retouch it, we want to make it look better, but you don't want to go overkill. And I hate to take off points for students who try to do extra fancy things when we're just learning the basics. And we want to, again, natural is our goal. So the final picture that you have to choose from is the cat picture. And this one I think is a little bit more complicated, so I tend to encourage students to choose the Harley picture and the dog picture. The cat picture, might make you frustrated. The first thing is we need to brighten it up a little bit. Notice that the shadows are very, very dark, but we don't want to accidentally lose the detail in the background. So I'm going to go to the circle that's light on one side, dark on the other. And I'm going to go to levels. Levels. And now what we're going to do is drag this gray slider towards the black slider. And you can see as we're doing that, so we're dragging the gray slider towards the black slider, not too much, but enough so that we brighten up those shadows, but we aren't losing the detail that is in the background. Now, as we've brightened this up though, we see a color has come through. And in these shadows, we see a lot of red. So we need to get rid of that excess red in the shadows. So I'm going to go to the circle that's light on one side, dark on the other. And then I'm going to go to color balance. Now, right now, by default, the color balance is on the midtones, but the midtones are fine. What we want to fix the shadows, because the shadows is where we're seeing the excess red. So we're going to go to shadows. And then see where it says cyan and red? Drag it away from red and towards cyan. Just a little bit. And now we've gotten rid of that excess red. Now let's see the before and after what we have so far. Before, after. So we're seeing more detail in the shadows and it's not too red. Next, I'm going to make a new layer and we're going to use it to get rid of these streaks. I'm going to use some clone stamp first. So I'm going to steal a little bit of wood by going to Alt or Option click, and I'm going to paint that wood over here. Oops, went a little bit too far. Alt or Option click. See, just like that. Alt or Option click, paint. Alt or Option click, paint. Alt or Option click, paint. So I'm getting rid of these streaks. I'm going to steal this wood, Alt or Option click, and paint it over here. Steal a little of this wood, paint it over here. Steal a little of this wood. Steal this blind here, and I'm going to hold down the Shift button as I paint so I keep a straight line. Hold down the Shift button to keep a straight line. A little too far. Let's do it again. Command Z to undo. I think I talked about Command Z in week 1, but Command Z is a really important tool to undo your mistakes. And this is going to take you some time. So make peace with that. See, messed up. So when you mess up, Command Z, no big deal. Okay, now when you get to the point where, clone stamp isn't working for you, get out your spot healing, make a new layer. And what I'm going to do is use my spot healing to get rid of the last little bits of creases that I'm having trouble getting rid of. And then we also have to add an eye for this cat because this cat is missing an eye. So we have to give him an eye back. Okay, let's see the complete before and after of what we have so far. Alter option, click before and after. Before and after. Okay, so I'm going to make a new layer. And I'm going to use my lasso tool to lasso this cat's eye. So I've lassoed the cat's eye, and now I want to copy it. So to copy it, if I just hit Command C, as you can see, I'm on a blank layer, so I'll be copying nothing. So what I need to do is go up to Edit, Copy Merged. Edit, Copy Merged, which is also Shift Command C. Now I need to paste what I've copied. So to paste it, you'll hit Command V. Now, when you paste the eye, it's pasting it directly over the eye that is already there. So you'll need to hit the letter V on your keyboard and then move this eye over. Now, as you can see, the eye looks a little bit strange because it's facing the wrong direction. I'm going to turn off Show Transform Controls up here so you can see it. So it looks a little strange, so we need to flip it. So to flip it, I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, Flip Horizontal. Edit, Transform, Flip Horizontal. Next, I'm going to blend the edges. So I'm going to go to Brush Tool, and with a soft edge brush, blending the edges. I'm just erasing. Now the cat is cross-eyed right now, so I need to make him uncross-eyed by making a new layer, and I'm just going to use my brush tool with black as my foreground color. So you see black is my foreground color right there. I'm going to shrink my brush size really small by clicking on the bracket key, and then I'm going to paint. And you can see now, see how his eye, now I'm just making the pupils a little bit bigger. Now he doesn't look quite so cross-eyed. Let's see the before and after. Hold down the Alter Option button, click on the eyeball on the background layer. So before and after. Now the way that you're going to save it for your turning it in is File, Export, Save for Web. Remember, you're going to save your Photoshop document as well. JPEG High, Save. And I'm going to call this des104week2c_your name. Any questions? So this is the rubric for how you're going to be graded. Make sure that you do 2 images and save them both as JPEGs. Your assessment is pretty easy. It's going to be making a text on a path project, which should take you about 5 minutes. Now the path tool, also called the pen tool, is a very, very important tool that you will use not only in Photoshop, but in Illustrator and in all of the Adobe programs, in fact. So make peace with the pen tool, make friends with it. I'm going to show you a game that will teach you how to use the pen tool really well. It's called the Bezier game. So I'm just going to go on Google and type in Bezier, because that's the pen tool. The pen tool is made of Bezier curves. So I'm going to go to the Bezier game. And this game, it's not only fun, but it teaches you how to use the pen tool. So you can click on Get Started. And as you can see, the pen tool is pretty easy because if you click on 2 points, it automatically just makes a straight line. Easy peasy. To make either perfect diagonals or perfect vertical lines or perfect horizontal lines, you hold down the Shift button while you click on 2 points. And ta-da! That is how you make those angles. Now to make a perfect circle, you click and drag out these anchor points. And these anchor points are what create Bezier curves. They're like little magnets that are pulling out the curve on that line. So click and drag, and the anchor points go with the direction of the shape that you are drawing. Perfect circle. Now to change the angle of your anchor points, click and drag first. So I'm clicking, I'm dragging, I'm pulling out these anchor points. Now, as I've clicked and dragged and pulled this anchor point out, I'm going to hold down the Alt or Option key. And what that does is it changes the angle. Now I'm going to let go of my clicker first while holding down the Alt or Option key still. And then I'm going to let go of my Alt or Option key. Okay. Now I'm going to pull out this next anchor point. Now I'm going to hold down the Alt or Option key. Change the angle of my curve. I'm continuing to hold down the Alt or Option key while I lift up my finger off the trackpad. And then letting go of the Alt or Option key. And as you can see, ta-da. And then you can go on and play more complicated shapes. Actually, let me share my whole desktop. Okay, so now let's use that pen tool to make text on a path project. Yeah, cool. So T. Schrader is getting it. That's fantastic. So the ideal size for your text on a path project is 5 inches by 7 inches, 72 DPI. So we're going to do that. File new. Width is 7 inches, height is 5 inches, resolution is 72. And then I'm going to click OK. All righty. Now let's, first I don't like to start with just a blank white background because it's boring. So I'm going to make a new layer really quick, and I'm going to use my gradient tool. And the gradient is really cool because, well, you have these preset gradients that you can use, which are fine. But if you go to this little gear option here, you can load more gradients. And I like the photographic toning. So I'll click Append. So I've loaded these. I could just pick a photographic gradient that I like. I'll click OK. And I like the radial gradient. I like to start light and have dark corners. So click and drag to pull out the gradient. Right now, it's dark in the middle and light towards the outside, and I want to do the exact opposite. I want dark in the outside and light in the middle. So I'm going to click reverse, and then I'm going to click and drag. Ta-da! Make it a little bit lighter in the middle. There we go. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, Command + sign to zoom in. And there we go. Now we have a nice, interesting background. Next, I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to use my pen tool, which is this guy right here. And this is really important. You want to make sure that you are on the path mode. The path mode. If you're on the shape mode, it won't work. Next, I'm going to click on 2 points. And on the second point, I'm going to click and hold and drag out this curve. So I'm going to make a little arch like that. Then I'm going to go to my text tool, which is the T directly below your pen tool. Next, you can either, I like to choose the left align so I know what I'm getting. So I'll click on left align, and then I'm gonna hover over this path here. Hover until it gets a little squiggly line here, and then click, and then write what you, I thought I had clicked on left align, but I actually clicked on center align. That's really annoying. I ran out of room. See, when you click center align, it runs out of room. It's annoying. So then you can write your text. And see, yeah, it has a little point there. This is why it's really important to set up your text to the correct alignment before you get started, or else you end up running out of room on your thing. So I'm going to start over again. And to delete my path, I'm going to go to this paths layer, hold down the shift button, select both of these guys, and delete them. Delete with the delete key. Oh, cool. So you filled in an object with text. Perfect. So I'm going to make a new layer, and I'm going to go to my pen tool, click and hold, drag. Go to my text tool, make sure it's on left align, hover over the line, and then write whatever you want here, like this. Ta-da! Text on a path, instant A, right? If you want to experiment with other ways to make text on a path, you can try the freeform pen tool, which is really fun. It's roommates with the regular pen tool. It's on the same button. And if you click on the freeform pen tool, which is this bad guy right here, you can then, and make sure you're on the path mode, you can then scribble, 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 and it turns it into a path like that. Then you can go to your text tool and again, hover over your path until a squiggly line appears. Make sure you're on left align so you don't run out of room, and type whatever you want. And yet another way to make text on a path is to use the custom shape tool. And you want to make sure that you are on the path mode of the custom shape tool, not the shape mode or the pixel mode. Find whatever shape you want. Hold down the shift button, click and drag. Go to my text tool. Hover over the path until, come on path. My computer is going slow right now. This happens from time to time. Hover over your path. It's also, I have so many paths on here. It's like, what path do you want me to select? I'll start with a clean document. Yeah. I'm going to delete all these layers and show you fresh from shape tool. Nice little path, and now watch. Click on your text tool like this, hover over your path until your squiggly line appears, click on it, and then you can start typing. And now we have our text is inside the shape. Boop, boop. So you can do this as well. So there's 3 different ways that you can make text on a path. And what you want to write is totally up to you. You're welcome to write some inspirational quote. You're welcome to write gibberish like I did. You're welcome to write your name over and over again. Whatever you want is totally, totally fine. Okay, to save this, of course, you're going to always save your PSD file, but you are going to be turning in your JPEG. So you're going to name it des104week2_ your name assessment. And then I'm going to make a JPEG. So I'm going to go File, Export, Save for Web, File, Export, Save for Web. Select JPEG High and then hit Save. Oh, how do you get the text on the outside of the heart instead of the inside? Just when you're hovering until you get the little squiggly line, just hover ever so slightly outside of the line instead of inside the line. So it's just kind of like about where you're hovering right before you click. That makes sense. Alrighty, you guys. And then the last thing that you guys have to do this week is your discussion, where you are making a tutorial and you're demonstrating how to do something. So as I posted in the discussion, you are welcome to either type up your tutorial as long as you're using 300 words or more. I think it's 300 words or more. Or you're welcome to make a video. You guys all have the tools to make a video on your laptop already. If you go to the little finder, which is the two blue faces here, and then you click on Applications, and then you click on QuickTime Player. QuickTime Player will appear at the top of the screen. And go back to QuickTime. There we go. QuickTime Player. Now, to make a movie, you'll go to File, New Screen Recording. File, New Screen Recording. Click on the little down arrow next to your red dot and make sure that your microphone is working, and make sure that when you talk, you see these little lines go sideways like this. Next, you're going to hit the red button to start your recording. And then you'll begin. You'll be like, hello, I'm going to teach you how to use the brush tool. So the first thing you want to do when you use the brush tool is go to File, New, and make a new document. We're going to make a document that's 7 inches by 5 inches. You can hit Command + to zoom in. And then to make a new layer, which is what you always want to do every time you make a new tool, use a new tool, you'll hit Shift Command N and then enter for OK. The brush tool is located in the tool panel, and it looks like a paintbrush, which is exactly what it is. There's a number of shortcut keys that allow you to adjust your brush settings on the fly. If you just click and paint, that's how you click and drag to paint. To increase the size of your brush, you can hit the right bracket key, which looks like a square bracket next to the P. To decrease the size of your brush, you can hit the left bracket key. If you want to toggle between your foreground and background colors, you can hit X, and see now I'm painting with my background color. If you want to adjust your opacity of your brush on the fly, you can hit the number keys. So you can hit 1 to paint with 1% opacity. You can hit 5 to paint with 50% opacity. Sorry, 1 is 10% opacity. And you can hit 9, and that is painting with 90% opacity. To adjust your flow on the fly, you can hold down the Shift button while hitting a number such as 2. And now you're painting with 20% flow. Hold down your Shift button and press 6. Now you're painting with 60% flow. Hold down your Shift button and press 9. And now you're painting with 90% flow. So using the number keys to adjust your opacity, holding down the Shift button while holding down the number keys allow you to adjust your flow, and the bracket keys allow you to increase and decrease the amount of brush on the size of your brush on the fly. Now next, once you're done with your tutorial, you're going to hit the little circle that has a little square inside of it up at the top of your screen. And then as you can see, now you have your video. So the first thing you want to do when you use the brush tool is go to File, New, and make a new document. We're going to see, that's my tutorial. And now you'll save it. So you'll go File, Save, and you'll call it Brush Tutorial. And then how do you want to post that? I think the easiest way to post your video on our discussion forum is to make a YouTube channel for yourself, which takes all of 2 seconds. Then upload your video to YouTube. And then just like I do in the announcements and in the live sessions, I just copy and paste the YouTube video into the classroom, or in your case, directly into the discussion. And it's really easy that way. So T. Schrader just asked, you know that you can upload brushes that you have downloaded. What can we do or not do is, so for your discussion post this week, you are welcome to do any of that. So you can demonstrate how to download brushes and bring them into Photoshop. You are welcome to any tool or technique or thing that you want to teach the rest of the class about. You can do it. And this is your chance to, you know, not only learn a new tool and teach it to yourself, but teach it to someone else and then spread the knowledge. So you guys can totally do whatever you want. So we've talked, let me go over our rubric for how you're going to be graded on your assessment, because we haven't done that yet. So for your assessment, which is your text on a path, you're going to get 25 points for design qual, 25 points for saving it as a JPEG, 25 points for making sure that your path curves. Obviously, if you use text warp instead of text on a path, I'm going to know, and you're not going to get those 25 points. And if you are using images, make sure you only use license-free stock images. And then you get a full 100 points. Of course, images are not required. You're welcome to just do a gradient background like I did. But again, if you use images, you can only use non-copyright protected images. Alrighty. So we've talked a lot about beauty retouching. I thought this would be a good point to show you some professional beauty retouching so you can kind of get an idea of what's going on in the industry. Do you guys have any other questions? Okay, cool. I'm going to show you guys some professional Photoshop work, and then that will be it for the evening.
The word Photoshop is often used like, oh, you can just Photoshop that with the click of a button. And it's not true. It's really not true.
Photoshop is such an amazing tool. It changed the whole photography world.
Online culture would be a lot more boring if there weren't editing tools like Photoshop.
A lot of people feel that because you pass some work through Photoshop or digital, the process is not as valid that it's going to be with a click of a button, which is a big misconception. I feel like I do draw traditionally, but I just do it on the computer. Photoshop, there's nothing you can't create with it, especially nowadays. It's just like learning any program. I feel it's definitely important to experiment for yourself. Just go crazy with it. I think a lot of my work is fantasy, but photorealistic. It's that floating world image, and people seem to be drawn to that. Usually a production company or advertising company would approach me and they would give me 1 or 2 images to work with as a start. With the Paul McCartney one, it was just him on a stage in a black background. So I would have to take him and make an interesting illustration with it. I'd say typically 50 layers is normal, if not more. I'd say that would be the base. It's not just layers of random elements. You gotta have color balancing, and then you have to adjust levels. Just everything and anything could be a layer. 10, 15 years ago, I definitely wouldn't be able to create images like what I do today. I've talked to traditional artists before, and a lot of them are just kind of stubborn in trying it, or they feel like there'll be a cop-out if they do, and I don't agree with that. It's really no different than a regular traditional brush. It's just how you want to use it.
Before the digital age, we used to retouch prints, nags, hectachrons. Everything was made with hands. Now everything can be Photoshopped. So editors, they put a lot of work on the post-production. The first thing is I start with a basic shaping. make sure the body, face, the hair, the finger, the hands, the feet looks pretty good to the eye. Then I work my way in to do some details in the skin, blotches, zits, bags and wrinkles, red eyes, crossing flying hairs. I mean, I can go on and on. A good retouching job, obviously, is when you don't see it's retouched. There's still some quality into it, some luminosity, some shadow, it's still alive. This is a site called Photoshop Disaster. People are just retouching without the eye of the retoucher or the eye of the photographer. There's poor quality. You don't have any structure left. We're really bombarded with pictures of glamour and perfectness. It seems like perfection has to be the norm, and it's pretty sad. I do believe those images impact our definition of beauty, but the trend changes and the beauty keeps changing over time. There's a saying, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, which I believe is true. I think we can separate between like the commercial beauty and the artistic beauty.
Photoshop has evolved along with remix culture in a very interesting way. It's become a dominant way to be able to illustrate their sense of humor or what they find is funny, what their ethics are. And images are much easier to spread than a blog post. Sometimes Photoshop memes can be a very simple way of communicating, but other times I think they can be quite deep and complicated. Casually Pepper Spray Cop, for example, was a meme that originated from this photograph of a police officer who was pepper spraying some Occupy protesters on campus. And a lot of people use this meme to make a statement about police brutality or to publicly humiliate Lieutenant John Pike. There's a really recent Photoshop meme called Thumbs and Ammo, in which movie stills having an actor holding a gun has the gun replaced with a thumbs up hand signal. And this one actually requires some very significant Photoshop abilities. And some people have said that it's an interesting way to make a statement about gun control or have an anti-gun sentiment. I'd say Photoshop has been empowering for people. It gives them the ability to humble celebrities like Beyonce's unflattering photos or politicians. And previously, people didn't really have such a way to get their voice heard in these regards. So these tools have really helped users to be able to interact with media and change it into whatever way they want.
The benefit is obviously the practicalness. It's faster, it's cheaper, it's better and better all the time.
Photoshop has become very important in terms of our visual culture, and meme culture is becoming increasingly important in online discourse.
10-15 years ago, I definitely wouldn't be able to create images like what I do today. It's not possible.
Alrighty, you guys. So that's it for tonight. Thank you guys so much for being an awesome class and continuing to turn your work in on time and follow directions and just be awesome. If you guys have any questions, feel free to stick around and ask. If not, I'll be in here on Wednesday from 6 to 8, and you can show me your work. You can get answers, get help, and I will see you all in the classroom. Hey Danielle, if you're stuck on what to make a tutorial on, a good thing to do is just go on YouTube and do a search for Photoshop tool, and then just scroll through the videos, and if you see something that is interesting to you, watch it and then learn it yourself, and then make your own tutorial for it. Or just pick a random tool and then make a tutorial, teach it to yourself and then make a tutorial about it. Awesome, you guys. Thanks for being a great class, and I will see you later.